Okay, everybody. Welcome to the fourth podcast of Pivot Play. My guest today is Vivi Cahyadi Himmel. She lives in London right now, and without further introduction, she's a very accomplished woman of her own right. I will let her introduce herself through the life stories that you'll be hearing in a few seconds. Vivi, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be able to talk to you today. The way I do podcasts is really just a casual conversation to get to know people, to introduce you to whoever's listening. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks so much for coming all the way to London from sunny California.
No, we're not sunny California in the past few months because we've had, torrential rain, and we've had pretty much London weather nonstop since mid-January.
Ironically, it's sunny today in London.
Yeah, to the chagrin of my Southern California friends, it's been rainy over there. So you are a music aficionado, you are a pianist. Other than classical music, classical piano, what else do you listen to?
What else do I listen to? At the moment, I'm listening a lot of Taylor Swift.
Okay, so you're a Taylor. You are an absolute Taylor fan, I take it.
I wasn't until I started spending a lot of time with one of our sales directors.
Okay.
Her name is Christina Blonheim, and we did a road trip together in California.
Wow.
From Palm Springs to LA last year. Okay. And we were listening a lot to Taylor Swift, and she's completely obsessed with it. And to do my job well, I need to understand what ticks my people.
Yep.
If what ticks her was Taylor Swift, then let it be it. And I started listening to it, and actually I'm going to her concert.
Oh, wow.
In June.
In
London.
In London.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, her songs are perfect for like road trips and long drives and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's...
So is that all you listen to now?
Yes, other than Rachmaninoff and lists, maybe. Taylor Swift.
Okay.
I love Ed Sheeran.
Ooh, okay.
As well.
Yeah.
Jazz. Ella Fitzgerald. Always. Classic. What else do I listen to? Taylor Swift.
That's on your playlist these days.
That's on my mind. My husband
is he into it?
Is fed up.
Okay, well, he's probably not listening, so it's probably okay. Well, I've known you for a while, and we went to the same university in sunny Michigan with 6 months of brutal winter. And I've always known you to be a very driven person. If somebody were to ask me, what is Vivi like in a word, I would say driven.
Oh, wow.
Do you feel that way? And how do you take that?
I guess I feel that way, yes. I suppose because we had a board meeting yesterday. And I guess this morning was the first time this year that I was awake at like 3 a.m. in the middle of the night.
Okay.
My mind kept running.
Right.
So I woke up and I typed everything from the meeting, the key takeaways, the Q&A,
yep.
The action plans, and I drafted it all, the 8 pages this morning. I sent it to my leadership team to action.
8 pages of memo.
Yes, of memo. I don't know. I think it's just nature. I suppose my mom is very driven, and probably it's from her. I think it's pretty accurate. It's probably still the same back in the day, 23 years ago when I first met you until today.
Right.
And my husband is even more driven than I am, so we are a workaholic couple.
You guys are probably matched from heaven.
Not quite.
You mentioned your mom, so do you think your personality takes after her in many ways?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was younger, I felt like I looked like my dad and I behaved like my mom. The older I am, the more I feel like I'm becoming more like my dad.
Okay.
Do you feel that way?
Yes, more than my mom actually. Yeah, but I had a different. I don't know about your upbringing, but I had an abnormal upbringing in the sense that I've already left home when I was 12.
Oh, I left home when I was 11.
Okay. See, that's interesting because when I had children, when Lena had our boys, I had to adjust and relearn what it means to be a parent because I grew up with parents that live far away, and they were not with me at such a young age. And funny enough, and I don't know about you, I never ever felt homesick for even one day since the day I left home because I really enjoyed that independence and making decisions for myself, you know, which we would go to like a supermarket and I would pick the milk and the juice that I want to buy. Is it guava or is orange today? What am I going to have for dinner? At 12 with my 15-year-old brother. And I find that in a way it disconnected me from my parents.
And how does that translate to your children? Are they feeling independent?
No, they're feeling very dependent on us right now, and I try to encourage them to explore the world. You know, don't just think about going to university in California. There are other cities. My younger one loves.
There are other countries as well.
There are other countries. Yeah, there's Tokyo, there's London, there's. I mean, even other cities in the U.S. There's Boston. Boston's amazing for universities, right?
How old are they?
14 and 11.
Oh my gosh, 14, yeah.
14, yeah.
My one is going to go out of the States soon.
In 4 years. But he wants to stay in States. So, but coming back to how it affected me, I had to learn what it means to be close to my kids. How to talk to them. And when I spend time with them, it's not just, doing our own things separately. And really pay attention to them and the little things that my wife picks up that I didn't, especially when they were such a young age. Because I never experienced that with my parents in a way. It's not that they were neglectful of me, but they were busy at work, right? So grandma took care of my brothers and I, and then at 12 I was gone. So grandma felt the most loss of the kids not being around versus my parents. So that dynamic, that parental dynamic is different in my home.
Did your parents, when they had you, maybe they were still fairly young?
Are you interviewing me? My parents are in their mid-70s right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
they're in their mid-70s,
so
and my brother is my brother is like 49.
Okay.
Yeah. So they were mid-20s.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens, right? When you have kids fairly young, then
right.
you have to pursue a career, and grandma is still young enough, and
yes.
Grandparents connect very well with children.
and they're spoilers. I don't know, that's a segue, but in a way we have some similarities in terms of the upbringing. I mean, when you went to Australia at 11?
Yeah.
Did you miss home?
No, because my parents kept coming
to
visit us.
Okay, that's great.
Every 2-3 months, and
right.
It was sort of like a second home. So each time they had opportunity to fly, they just flew. It was only 4 hours away. It wasn't like a world away like the U.S.
Okay.
In Australia.
Well, mine was in
Indonesia.
Singapore, so 1.5 hour away.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, they come sometimes. Maybe once or twice a year. Maybe twice a year. That's it.
Twice a year.
Yeah.
From Jakarta from Bogor.
Yeah.
To
I mean, that's how many times
Singapore.
they come. And we go back maybe twice a year as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were definitely a lot more present.
Yeah. See, that's the word. Like, when you have your own kids and you're not present, then they'll grow up a certain way. And that's what my wife was telling me. Like, I need to be more present with them. I need to be more like a dad. And she knows what that means. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that when I was 29, when David was born. Yeah. But the good thing was, at that time, a week before he was born, I lost my job. And I lost my job and I was struggling for the next 6 months after to get the next job. But I had 6 months with him at home. So, You
So
can
that's
say
great.
it was a good,
Yeah.
it was a good comeback story
Yeah.
from that, you know, transitionary period. But yeah, I had to learn what it means to be parent. And if parents don't learn how to be parents, then the kids suffer, I think. Right?
Yeah, but kids learn. Kids survive.
Kids survive. Yep, yep. Okay, we're not talking about parenting here. But I'm always interested to listen to the origin stories. Okay, what I mean by that is, your younger days, your early days, your childhood days. When you were 5, 6, 7, what did you dream about? What did you want to become? Because I'm sure you were as driven as you are today.
Astronaut? Okay. Oh gosh, what did I want to become when I was 5? I think my earliest memory was probably when I was 7.
Okay,
I just remember that I was doing so badly
that was
at
second grade.
school.
Yeah.
Because actually, even though my parents were very driven people, they were never pushy.
Right.
So they didn't push us too much academically.
Yeah.
In fact, because they're such entrepreneurs, they probably didn't value too much on
Formal
academic.
education.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interestingly, I mean, I'm just realizing that now. And so the earliest time I sort of remember was when I was 7 or 8. So second grade or third grade.
Okay.
And that's when I started pushing myself.
Okay.
Suddenly I became from rank 22 to like rank 2 or rank 3
Okay.
in class.
No, I remember that when they were still ranking.
There was yeah, they would rank you, right?
Yeah.
I remember I
Yeah.
was ranking 22, like pretty horrible.
So you were 3. You were from 22 to 3.
To 3.
Out of how
because
many?
Out of, I don't know, 45?
45?
Something like
You had
that.
45 in your class?
Yeah. It was
That's a big class.
It's a democratic public school.
Oh, it's a public school.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
Okay.
private school, but really it was it was
Okay.
back at home in Indonesia.
So did you get a trophy? Rank 1 to 3 usually
Probably,
get a
yeah.
trophy.
You get that
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I remember I was pushing myself when I
Okay.
started to remember
Right.
or like know how to behave like a person.
Yeah. But what
So-
did you want to become at that time?
What did
Do you
I want
remember?
to become? I don't remember, to be honest. But I do remember when I was in high school, I was focused on science. So I wanted to become an engineer. It was Michigan who switched me over to
Yeah.
BBA.
No, I think I vaguely remember that. You were into the sciences, or was it engineering or sciences?
Yes, it was chemistry, chemical engineering.
Chemistry, yeah. And then how did you pivot to BBA? What made you take
It was-
and switch?
It was purely the challenge of getting into BBA.
Right, because it was like super competitive.
Competitive, yeah.
Yeah. Even a 3.7 it doesn't guarantee if you have other like issues or problems. Or,
Exactly. It
yeah.
was pure that. So I'm very
Yeah.
competitive.
You just want to get into the most difficult school,
Program.
right? Program. No, and BBA is competitive and is typically not offered in vast majority of universities in the U.S. I mean, they're up there with like Penn BBA program, Berkeley, and Michigan.
Yeah.
Those are some of the top ones during our days. You remember when we used to work at the library, the business school library?
Yeah, remember $10 an hour.
How did you decide to work in the library?
Was it not you? You were there.
I was there, yeah, and then I was promoted to student supervisor.
That's right. You
Yeah.
were supervising us.
I started like $9.75 or $10.25, and then when I became student supervisor, they give me like 25 cents more.
I see. I remember it was $10. It was like $2 more than
Right.
other libraries.
Right. Because business school has money,
Um,
and we would just sit there at the what do you call it, the desk.
Reception.
Yeah, they call it something. I don't think they call it reception desk, but anyhow, people would come and check out books.
Yeah.
Or check out Wet Feet.
So
Remember
it was
Wet
like
Feet?
a free library.
Right, and you just study there.
Yeah.
It was quiet because business school students don't party, so right? They never party, they never get wild. Maybe you did, but I don't know.
Everybody did. except
Everybody
you.
did except me. Yeah, I'm the boring one. Yeah, so business school, you decided to just go do business instead of sciences. And
Yeah.
you didn't regret that at that time.
I didn't. I was so into it, I guess.
Yeah.
And it gave me a job in New York, which changed my career.
What was that first job out of college?
Yeah,
Or
it was in banking.
was it internship or was it full time?
It was full time.
Full time.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever do internships?
I did, yes. I did banking internship in Jakarta.
Okay.
And then before that, actually, I don't know if you remember, I went to Shanghai with Jackson
Okay. Okay.
and a few other ex-Michigan
Right.
for an internship as well. We were working in factories in Suzhou, in Ningbo.
Oh, okay.
and
I remember that vaguely.
this was in 2001.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I think that's when I first started drinking.
Was it Jackson Wijaya?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that guy. Remember we took the summer course at EMU?
Oh, no, that's not me.
That's
I
not
never
you.
took...
Oh, that's the other Vivi. Remember there was another Vivi?
There was another Vivi.
Okay, that was the other Vivi, sorry. Okay, so you did some internships in China.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Right.
was an interesting time. Probably a better time.
Why do you say so?
Oh, well, I don't know how China is now, today, but it's not a great time to go to China now. But back then in 2001, it was wonderful. A lot of opportunities. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, it was very developed in 2001, surprisingly.
Yeah. What did you do there for the internship?
Whew, what did I do?
Do you remember?
Parties. A lot of
No, I mean like actual work, Vivi. Not the fun one. Not the fun after work.
So I interned with a lot of ex-Michigan who did industrial engineering.
Right.
So I think I learned a lot of engineering process there.
Okay.
Like SOPs.
Yeah.
SOP
Process
this,
improvements.
SOP that.
Yep. Boring stuff.
Boring stuff.
Boring stuff. Okay, so you did that, and then you did. You got a first job in New York.
Yeah.
With who?
Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse. Okay.
It was Credit Suisse First Boston when I was there.
Right.
And then it became Credit Suisse.
CSFB. Yeah.
And now it's dissolved to a part of UBS.
Right. Consolidation.
Consolidation, yes. It's very sad.
Or sold for scraps.
Yeah.
Was that investment banking? Was it IB?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember 2000s was like, IB was like super hot.
Yes.
IB was like big tech at that time for, business majors, and you either go to New York or you go to Silicon Valley.
That's right, yeah.
And IB was prestigious. People wanted to go into investment banking. And but first step, BBA program, get through the gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
I remember you were nervous that you wouldn't get accepted,
That's true.
even though you had like a perfect GPA.
I don't think I had a perfect GPA.
Yeah, but you were so nervous, and I think that's the first time I saw somebody having like just so much nervousness. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, this girl, she's like so accomplished, but she's so driven that she's worried she won't get in, even though I'm pretty sure she was gonna get in.
It's so interesting that I remember that.
I remember that. And yeah, we weren't like super close as friends back in Michigan, but yeah, there was that one time that was kind of like a touchstone for me. And seeing you like that, and I was like, don't worry, it'll be okay. And you got in.
Yeah.
And was the program hard? Did it?
No.
No, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, accounting was tricky, but
Right.
other than that,
Right. You just have to go through it. I mean, and most people that get in, they are qualified to be there, right? I think.
I don't know.
No? Oh, really? Okay.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
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 I have very vague memories.
So you graduated. You did investment banking. Was that the kind of work, kind of job that you enjoyed?
I loved being in New York
Okay.
at the time. I mean, I was 20, turning 21.
Wow.
Who wouldn't love New York?
So you graduated early.
I think, yeah. I think I graduated when I was 20.
Did you skip grades before college?
I think I just skipped like half a year because that Australia graduation in
Right.
the winter, and then I started in the winter. So
Right.
I did college for 3.5 years instead of 4.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a fun time. You just kind of learn a lot. Banking was overrated, to be honest. The work wasn't that interesting. I mean, it's just a lot of slavery, financial modeling,
Right.
pitch book, putting together pitch book, and then printing them out,
Right.
and then making sure they print okay and the pages are sequential,
Okay.
and they're packed the
Yeah.
right way, and they're ready to be sent to the MD's apartment so that they can take it to a meeting the next day. This is
Right.
the work, the
Right.
actual work.
Yeah, you're the grunt. You're doing the grunt work. You're doing the.
And back in the day, there was no Google Doc, so literally the job was you put together the first draft,
Right.
and then associate reviews.
Yeah.
They write with pencil or pen
Okay.
comments on the
Okay.
paper,
Right.
and then you turn it around, you print it again, you give it to the VP. VP writes their comments, you turn it around, and then the VP or the associate checks, and then it gets sent to the MD.
Okay. And it better be good.
By the time it gets to the MD, it should be perfect.
Right.
If there is any mistake, then the VP or the associate asses were on the line.
That sounds awfully similar to some management consulting.
Yeah.
That's what the first year, analysts do. When you're hired as a business analyst, you make presentations. So maybe the difference is just the content. But you're pretty much doing
Yeah.
the work, right?
Yeah,
You're doing some of the research, you're doing some of the work, you're putting the documentation, all that. And how long did you do that for?
5 years.
5 years?
A long time,
No,
right?
yeah, that's not okay. In New York, just 5 years in New York.
And in Hong Kong.
And Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I mean, at least the cities are interesting. The
Yeah.
life.
I have lived in fairly interesting cities. That's
Okay.
that's definitely one thing about me.
Aside from London, what's your other favorite?
Tokyo.
Okay. Why is that?
Why not? I mean,
Why not?
everything is amazing there. I love the attention to detail, the meticulousness of every single thing. Doesn't matter what. It could be it like a whiskey bar, a rum bar, a ramen place, a tonkotsu place, unagi place. Everything is so detailed, so well presented, so well thought out. I love that. I love that type of precision.
Do you want to live like that though? Because the custom, they're very strict and they're
Yeah.
a disciplined society, right?
Yes.
So especially actually everywhere, whether it's hospitality or you're working in a startup or you're working for like a American multinational, there's that culture of respect and deference,
Hierarchy,
right?
yeah.
It's hierarchy, seniority, and you work your butts off, right? In that kind of like
Yeah.
society. How long were you there for?
I was there for about a year and a half, on and off.
Okay.
And I think I felt like I had to leave the country every 6 weeks or so.
Okay. 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't, because it got too Japanese.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Well, of course, when you're there, you're mesmerized, right? You're fascinated by so many things. But then it is not international. Of course, there are expats there and they speak English and so on. But they're very insular, right?
Sure.
And very one-dimensional in so many ways. Yeah, I mean, I think I just needed to get out every 1 or 2 months or so and then
Okay.
come back to it and feeling fresh again.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would get too Japanese.
All right. Okay. But I understood that you actually learned the language in a very formal way. You were serious about it.
Interestingly, you were too.
You were more okay. For our last meeting, you're more hardcore.
I don't think so.
Are you like JLPT like 2?
Oh gosh.
Because you took the exam.
I did, yeah,
Yeah.
a while ago. Well, I don't think we did it together, but we both studied Nihongo in Michigan, right?
じゃあ日本語で紹介してください。
Oh gosh, 忘れちゃったでしょ。
忘れちゃった。嘘つき。 I actually have a lot of Japanese friends right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
In LA
Yeah. And in Japan.
and in Japan.
Yeah, and some of them listen to my podcast.
Ah.
Yeah, so it'll be they'll want to meet you.
Yeah.
But I mean, that 1.5 years, that's great. You get to
Yeah.
enjoy it. You get to enjoy the living in the convenience of Tokyo, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
central.
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 Yeah. Actually, I was living in Omotesando,
Motsando.
and I actually got an apartment there.
Right.
I told you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A very unique.
Very
Apartment.
unique apartment. It was literally was a shell. It was a building from 1989,
Okay.
1980. So fairly
Okay.
old,
Right.
from Tokyo standard.
Mm.
But yeah, I got an incredible architect and converted a 3-bedroom into a 2-bedroom plus a tatami room.
Wow.
It was such a beautiful apartment, and I had a tenant who was an Oscar-winning producer,
Wow.
John Lasher.
Wow.
He appreciated the apartment.
Yep. Yeah.
It wasn't for everybody,
Right.
but I sold it in the end.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
sad, but yeah. This is
But
such a
sometimes you just have to
wonderful-
let go of things.
Yeah, I saw it during COVID.
Right.
When COVID happened, John Lasher had to move back to Hollywood,
Mm.
and so I wasn't able to secure another tenant, and
Right.
there was a recurring cost.
Yeah.
And I decided to just sell it.
Yeah, that's a shame. And so, tell me about your transition from, professional banking, because I understand you've now moved away from all that, from finance and banking and investments, the investment world. And I guess something happened where you pivoted from just working, an IB banking investment job to wanting to do something for yourself on your own. What was that story? What was that beginning? How did you come up with that thought?
I mean, it's fairly natural because I always grew up with it, right? Seeing my parents being entrepreneurs, so being
Right.
an entrepreneur is like a second nature to me.
Okay.
It's probably the only thing I can be. The flexibility, the feeling of building something, I love
Okay.
that very much, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of like capitalizing on your energy and effort. It is like a baby. You watch it grow, and I love that feeling of seeing things grow. When there is a setback, it really gets me frustrated. So that was a no-brainer. But what I do today, which is the co-founder and CEO of AltoVita, was it's kind of like a natural progression from where I was in banking plus real estate plus sort of investment, understanding capital risks, operational risks, asset risks, and so on. And 2016 and 17, I guess I was inspired by how Airbnb was able to like grow so fast, become who they were back then and now,
Right.
leveraging on like the biggest asset class in the world, real estate, without being bound to the capital risk or the operational risk and so on. That was super attractive to me. And so that's one of my co-founders at the time. He wanted to start a business, like, Vivi, I want to do something. And I said to him, look, this is all I wanted to do. You in or you out? It's like, okay, I'm in. And that's how it started. And then he introduced me to my current co-founder, Karolina, at the time. And I suppose we just hit it off. It's never easy. It's every day there's always something.
Right.
But we persevered, and yeah, I mean, today it's quite something.
Right. Is it just you and Karolina, the
Yeah.
remaining co-founders of the
Correct.
AltoVita?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who coined that brand, AltoVita?
Honestly, it was like over WhatsApp chat.
Okay.
And
Classic.
we said, we love languages, right? And I said, like, let's find something that is easily pronounced. Like English sometimes, like Japanese. Japanese can't really pronounce English like crisp. And so we said Latin word. Latin word is phonetic. It should be inclusive to most people.
Right.
And we like the word alto because it means high. And we were just kind of like Googling what's available, what's cheap on GoDaddy's. And we found AltoVita was like 1.4 pounds. So that's how AltoVita was born. Literally, it was just like trial and error to see what word makes sense and what's available and what's cheap.
What does Vita by itself mean?
Life. So it's high life.
Wow. It's a very appropriate name for the business.
Yeah.
And alto also is a musical word.
Yes.
Soprano, alto.
Yeah.
Right. And tell us about your early days as co-founders. What was that like? Because you basically moved away from your professional career just to do this, right? When did you decide to do that, and what was that inflection point where you said, okay, I have to quit my job, I have to focus on this, I have to make this work?
Well, actually, at the time, I wasn't working much. I was taking time off. I actually lost my mom in 2015. 2016, I was very busy kind of being the family secretary, sorting out the family affairs.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I took time off at the time, 2016. I needed it. And when this idea came, I wasn't as driven as I was. In fact, that was the point of my life when I was least driven.
Really?
Yeah. I felt like I was exhausted. I was exhausted because of what happened to the family and
emotionally, mentally.
Yeah, exactly.
You're drained.
I was drained at the time. So and that's why when my third co-founder Ronak asked me to do a business together, I said this is the only thing I wanted to do. It has to be this.
Right.
Anything else, I'm not interested.
Right.
And at first it was more like a pet project for me. Just want to test it out and see how it's like. And then probably the inflection point was around end of 2017 or end of 2018.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
So 2 years later.
It took like a year.
Okay.
For me to, okay, this is it. I'm going to commit full time. And after that, there was no turning back, right? And it was very different. When I was part-time, there was obviously progress from my side. But when you pour everything in, then that's when you saw traction. We started raising like the first capital of £300,000, small, and we used the money to grow, and we continue to grow. Today we're about 100 people. Wow.
And that first 300K, how many knocks on the door did it take to get to that point?
Loads. But fundraising has always been.
What did it feel like when people kept saying no, or they just shrug their shoulders and they look at you like, your ideas mean nothing to them and they're not gonna.
And I think that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. It's only when someone said they would invest, but then they didn't.
Yeah, that's disheartening.
Yes.
That's like, who? Why would you do that, right? Like, you're a man and woman of your own word, and that's all you've got in life.
Yeah.
That's your reputation.
Exactly.
Right.
So so someone said, okay, I'll put in 50K, but it never materialized.
Does that teach you something when you encounter?
I think that I probably wouldn't spend too much time on it.
Okay.
It's a process, basically.
Yeah.
It's a sales process, right? You have a pipeline, you do your outreach, and then whatever comes back, that's it.
Okay. But you were asking money also strategically. It's not just money that you're after. It's maybe their expertise or some of their experience. And
yeah.
was that a factor or not as much of a factor for you.
I mean, I have worked with many advisors and experts, right? They're varying degree. Some would be very helpful because they would go out of their way and spend the time to properly add value.
Yeah.
Not many does this properly.
Okay.
Sometimes they just like to be associated.
Right.
For the title or for the fact that they think they can give back and so on. So the key is obviously to be careful not to say yes to all and really be specific.
Or even knowing who to ask. Were you selective in like who you go with? People that you've known from somebody, you know, friend.
Yeah, but also circumstances change.
Sure.
They may have been into it at the time, but then, you know, they may be starting a new job that required their full-time attention and so on. So it's harder to work with advisors like this.
So over how many months did that take, that asking, until you get the first seed money?
So it was 300,000. The first 80K was from family and friends.
Okay.
And then we did use a platform called Syndicate Room.
Okay.
Here in Cambridge.
Sounds mysterious.
Syndicate Room, yeah. So Karolina and I went to Cambridge to do our pitch.
Wow. Okay.
It was videoed. It was streamed and
so
everything.
It's like a Cambridge Shark Tank.
In a way. And then I think we raised like 120K afterwards.
Wow.
So like that's 200.
Wow.
And then the rest, once you get like momentum, the rest fills up fairly quickly.
Yeah. Okay. And what was that initial? So those are, I mean, still considered the early days of your company, AltoVita.
Yeah.
You're starting out. You're talking to people. You're trying to get properties signed up, right? And did you do all that yourselves? Do you guys divide and conquer? How did that work?
Yeah, divide and conquer is how we do things. Because our time is valuable. I always said to Karolina that we should never be in the same meeting unless this meeting is absolutely important.
Pivotal, yeah. Okay.
To us, then we really try not to be.
That's a really good strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why should the CEO and the COO, let's say, be in the same? Right.
Yeah. Of course, like we have like board meetings would be there. If it's like an extremely important client.
Right.
For example, it's very rare that we do this, but we went to Dublin together to see Intel.
Okay.
We think it's a massive prospect, so we both went.
Sure.
What else? I mean, it's just very rare that we're in the same meeting room together.
Right.
We divide and conquer.
Right. And how many people did you have at that time when you were at that 200K seed money stage?
Yeah. So we had our first hire. Her name is Caroline Boyle. She's still very much with us.
Okay.
Thriving. Wow. She started at AltoVita, I think in 2019.
Okay.
She was partnership manager.
Okay.
And then she transitioned to operations manager.
Wow.
And then she became passionate about product. For her birthday, I gave her this book called, what's it called now? I can't remember. Inspired. It's called Inspired. It's a product book.
Right.
She read it over one weekend.
Wow.
And yeah, she's like one of our best product managers in the company.
What an amazing thing to have, not only a founding employee that is still with you, but so passionate about what she does, right?
Yeah. She's actually going to her maternity leave in a few weeks' time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Congrats to her.
It's congratulations to her wife Jo, and they have a toddler, Felix. They're expecting another son.
Wow.
So very, very happy. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for us. It's really going to be a challenge to operate AltoVita without Caroline.
But you have to survive because, I mean, she has to take her leave and she has to do, her family thing. And that's life. And, you know, maybe someday, she'll come back, she'll be refreshed and all that. And so at that time, you have very few employees then.
Yeah.
Like
So,
very few, like
yeah.
single digit.
I think when COVID hit, we had 10.
Okay.
We let go of 1,
Okay.
so 9.
Wow.
So 2020 March, we had 9. Before Series A, in 2022 December, we had 49.
Wow.
Now we have, 97, 98.
98. And along the way, you've learned how to build out a team.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. That's what you and Karolina do, right? How do you select the right people? How do you select the right mindset?
It's tough. I think it's key to, obviously, go through the hiring process, right? Case study is important. Case studies, yeah. In almost every role, we ask the candidate to work on a case study.
Right.
Be it product design, sales role. Like we would ask a salesperson candidate to present their own company's sales pitch.
Okay.
Or a research on a particular topic, or how they would position AltoVita and so on. So we see whether they're truly interested or not, whether they've done the research and so on.
Okay.
And then back in the day when it was just me and Karolina, who did interviews. Now we have a fully built out functions. So for example, we're hiring a designer, a UX UI designer now. So the process will be with a product manager, with a designer, and then case study, and then I will do the final interview.
You still do finals?
Yes. And then...
do you see that going away as you scale up to 1,000?
No. No, I think it's really important to spend the time to do the final interview. And during the interview, I will be extremely transparent to say that, look, this is not any other job. It's going to be tough. The expectation is sky high. And if you're up for it and you're ambitious and you want to make a mark in your career, this is for you. If not, this is not for you. Don't come. Essentially, it's kind of like the screening process.
Right.
So if they want to be candid to themselves, like they need to know what they're about to enter into.
Okay. When you're weighing talents, and some people are not very polished, maybe their communication is a little bit lacking, right? But maybe you think that they have the experience, they have the substance. What do you gravitate to? Substance or like how they carry themselves, how they communicate and present themselves?
I think it really depends on the role,
right?
Right? If you hire a designer, you don't need someone who can present well at all. In fact, we have designers who obviously are great designers and they can present.
Right.
But presentation is not the key skill set for that. If you're a salesperson, you absolutely have to know how to present and how to talk and communicate.
Right.
And if you're an account manager, then you have to have a hybrid between the ability to present and analytical skill.
Okay.
I think a salesperson as well needs to be strategic as another important key point, because selling is not just selling blindly, right? You need to craft your story, find the right angle, find a strategic pitch for various ICPs and so on.
Right. And are you growing faster than your competition these days?
100%.
You are?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because we are built that way. We're built to grow. We're built to produce a catapult growth. Growth is life. No growth means slow death for us.
Absolutely. And how do you sustain that? I mean, when you're a startup and then you achieve, you scale up and you're able to scale, there's always that next, step up, right? How do you keep that up?
It's hard. It's hard. I think first is lead by example and really push the team by demonstrating that you're on top of things, that you're able to be strategic and be able to deep dive into the execution, no detail, in and out.
Okay.
It's important for me. It's important to kind of not be the subject matter expert, but know enough about the topic, about that function.
Right.
So to be able to resonate well with the sales team, which I still lead until today, I need to understand how to sell. I need to know how to sell. I need to be able to close clients myself.
Yeah.
And I still lead the product team. Obviously, I'm not a qualified product leader, but I know enough to be able to speak with them, strike a meaningful conversation, and really drive the right KPIs and force them to be driving towards the right ways that are aligned with the company strategy, and so on. And recently, what I found is it's important to share with them transparently where your minds are at.
Okay.
For example, I just mentioned to you this morning that we had a board meeting, and I typed up like the Q&A. Here are the questions that the board asked. Here are our answers. I could not send them, but I chose to, so that they understand what's on the founder's mind.
Yep.
Once they are aligned strategically, it's easier for us to connect, and they can push themselves, right? We don't want to.
That's correct. Yeah.
And my leadership style is very much ownership and empowerment and accountability, right? I'm not in the business to micromanage. Whoever is being micromanaged is unfortunately not doing well.
Right. Okay. Is there an important lesson you've learned from hiring somebody who you thought is qualified, a right fit for the company, a superstar, and it didn't turn out that way? And have you had that experience, and what did you guys learn from it?
Oh my God, yes. Whoever said no would be lying.
Right. No one's a perfect hiring manager.
Honestly, I think that kind of hiring mistake is part of the journey. It
part of your
teaches
learning.
teaches you what you want out of your future leadership team, out of your team. And I think mistake is part of the journey. So we have, from a leadership perspective, I think we had a few mishires.
Okay.
So from finance to engineering, to even people functions.
Right.
So those are tough. Those are hard mistakes to rectify.
Right.
But
you must. Yeah.
There are varying degrees. Though there are ones who are just obviously not a fit within weeks. And usually they're out of the door within weeks.
Yeah.
But the difficult ones are the ones who are pretty competent, but not aligned.
Right.
And those are the tough ones to rectify, because, as time goes by, it's like a relationship. You build relationships with every hire, especially their leadership team. For me anyway, I would spend time with them personally, professionally. I would make the effort to. Usually when I'm in the office, it's not to work. It's just to build connections, right? As time goes by, you invest more time with them. It becomes harder and harder to rectify. So I think the key here is act on your decision even faster. Still a key learning. So that phrase is hire slow, fire fast very much applies in startup.
And still be transparent with everything that happens, good or bad.
Yeah, communication is key. I mean, it wasn't so important back in the day when we were less than 48 people. Now we're 100 people. Communication is absolutely key. You have to craft the right communication strategy to inform your people.
Okay. I really appreciate the time. Time flies today. It's really a pleasure speaking with you. Imagine the 21 21-year-old Vivi, and there are other 21-year-olds out there, you know, guys and girls that are in university trying to figure out life. You know, they're in their junior and senior years. They're trying to navigate, what should I do? Remember that? we were thinking like, oh man, what are we gonna do, right? The interviews are lined up, the career fairs, you know, putting together resumes, sorting out who to talk to. What would be your advice to that crowd today as they navigate through the uncertainties of what they want to do or what they would choose to do in their lives, in their first career?
My advice is pretty simple. I think, and I don't think people appreciate this as much as I do. A lot of things are numbers game.
Numbers game.
Yes, you need volume. You know, you ask me questions like, what about how many investors did you reach out to get the first yes? And so loads of them. And in sales, the same. How many outreach do you do to win the first client?
Right.
Loads.
Right.
And the same. I think I remember reflecting back, like 20-year-old me, senior year BBA in Ann Arbor, fall semester just started, and recruiting started then, 1 year before, right?
Yes.
And we were not going to school. We were recruiting. We were going to interviews after interview after interview. There were loads of rejections.
Right. Did you try to network your way through? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan was great.
Yeah.
Like, they had an amazing recruitment program, right? Loads of companies came.
Yep.
And we didn't have to go fly. I mean, you would only fly to New York for like a final interview.
Yes.
But loads of them would come to Ann Arbor to interview you. So I had loads of interviews, one rejection after another, until there wasn't. So if I had stopped at 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, then I wouldn't had that job.
But that's why not a lot of people are successful startup people. Like startup founders like you
Perseverance,
right?
yeah.
And actually stick to the plan, stick to your goals, stick to your dreams, and not give up too soon. Because that's the make or break. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Between reaching your goal and basically just flattening out.
Yes. And I mean, it probably wasn't as key then, but now, 20 years later after university, I think what is important to keep up with the performance is to be healthy, to really make sure that you're physically at your prime, right?
Yes.
So I would go for a run. I would do a lot of different physical activities, be it just yoga, Pilates, and so on and so forth. That keeps my mind sane, keeps my mental state as sharp as it can be.
Yeah. Very nice. And thank you for sharing with us all the stories that you've been through. And there's lots of more that I want to go through with you, Vivi. But I understand you have meetings coming up and so on. But I really want to appreciate your time. As I said before, time is our precious commodity in life.
Yeah.
And for you to allow this time to speak to me is something that I'm very grateful about. I think you're sharing a lot of wisdom nuggets through your stories. And, my wish is that somebody out there can take a piece of what you've gone through and really take that to the next level in their life and in their career. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I have very much enjoyed our conversation and also enjoyed interviewing you a little bit.
All right, till next time.